Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another reloading chat. And I saw something that caught my attention today. Several people posting on social media. There's already writers, other people talking about this tragedy, very extremely tragic event from yesterday that happened in Manchester in a concert. It's pretty bad. Pretty high death toll, pretty high injury toll. It's bad. It's bad, guys. Pretty bad event. Completely unnecessary event, uncalled for event. Now, we already know who's taken credit for this event, and I'm not going to get into that because I can't say certain words on here. YouTube doesn't like me discussing certain words, so we're not going to say those words at all. We'll follow their rules. So, the thing that really has caught my attention is that I'm seeing people on the left say Islamophobia is what caused this, or that the West deserves this, that we brought this on ourselves because of intolerance. That people's either right-wing intolerant opinions or people's Islamophobic opinions are what caused this. That's what causes these attacks to happen. In fact, they'll go so far as to say all these attacks, it's not the fault of the person who perpetrated it. It's not the fault of those people. It's the fault of the people who criticize them. Of Islamophobics, their opinions and their criticism causes these attacks to happen. That's the sole blame. It can be blamed on them. Now, what I find interesting, I'm going to get to that in a minute, the problem with the circular logic that they're creating. And the fact that they're actually being Islamophobic with that opinion. And I'll get to that in a minute. But one of the things I love to use when we talk about discrimination or intolerance of some type causing an X, discrimination causes Y. X, discrimination being your X, it's a cause and effect. Like talking discrimination causes suicide rates, extreme suicide rates. Like we've discussed that. And I always use the example of black people in the United States. Because if you want to talk about a history of disenfranchisement, a history of discrimination, that one's pretty tough to beat. All right, in recent history, that's pretty high up the list. There have been some worse ones, but we can all identify with this one. All right, a couple hundred years of slavery, yeah, that's pretty high up the list of discrimination. Not being able to vote, segregation, Jim Crow laws, lynchings, all sorts of stuff. There's a long history of discrimination, a long history of prejudice there. Been with us for centuries. It is slowly over the years improved. The situation has improved dramatically, to say the least. But you've got that long history of discrimination. Well, okay, why don't black people commit terrorist acts on large scales in the United States? In fact, when's the last time the historically most discriminated against group in the United States, a group that many claim is still largely discriminated against? I don't agree with that, but the claim is there, and I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Why is the historically most discriminated against group in the United States, why don't they commit wide-scale terrorist acts? Like, when's the last time that we've had a major terror attack committed by a black person in the United States? The DC sniper? We're not going to say what his religion was, but the DC sniper, did have a known religion. But we put that aside. Outside of that, that's the last time I can think of a terrorist act being committed by an American-born black person. It just doesn't happen. Well, if discrimination and criticism cause violence, large-scale violence, terrorist attacks, everything else, why don't we see that among this group? Again, the logic doesn't follow through when you go to other directions. It only seems to follow when the leftists single out this one group, that criticism of them causes extreme violence. Prejudice or intolerance of them causes extreme violence, but it doesn't cause it among other demographics of people. I mean, realistically, I mean, who has been more discriminated against in the United States than black people? Maybe Native Americans, I guess. But there aren't enough of them around to really matter anymore. Hence, pretty bad level of discrimination. It kind of got wiped out. But this group doesn't do it. They don't do it. And the only ones that have, even on a small scale, that kind of goes back to the other argument, doesn't it? So here's the problem I have with this. Their argument is that no one else should express opinion, no one should have a critical opinion, because that criticism leads to these attacks. Well, if that's true, then they're the ones who are afraid. They're the ones who are afraid. And they're also discriminating. They're also holding an extremely Islamophobic view, because their view is basically saying, their view, that stance, and I don't agree with this stance, I want to make that clear, but the stance that they're making is that this group of people is so irrational and so prone to violence and so prone to mass murder that if you dare say anything critical of them, that they're going to kill 50 people. I want to repeat that. They're saying that this group cannot think for themselves and do not have enough self-control to keep from mass murdering people if you're critical of them. That is what they are saying. Let that sink in for a moment. And so they're saying this group can't control themselves. They can't. Oh my God, don't you dare say anything that might offend them even slightly. Don't even you dare say anything critical, because if you do, they're going to go crazy and kill us all. So your freedom of speech, you need to shut up. Your opinion, you need to shut up. You don't need to have this opinion, because we're all going to die because these people can't control themselves. That's what they're saying. Now you tell me who's the Islamophobe here. Whose stance is Islamophobic? That sounds like an irrational fear. That sounds like an irrational fear of a belief system. That anyone who practices that belief system can't control themselves and they'll go on a mass murdering spree if you say anything negative about them. That they'll just start killing random people. That's what the left is saying. So they're saying that because they have no self-control, they don't have the ability to have it, it's outside of their capacity, that everyone else has to police what they say. Because these people, since they can't control themselves, they're not to blame. They can't be blamed for it because they can't control themselves. They can't think. They'll just react and just blow up in our faces. So everyone who's critical, it's their fault. It's their fault. Do you know how idiotic that sounds? When you really analyze what it is that they are saying with this claim. Do you understand on a logical level how utterly moronic and stupid this is? That other thinking human beings of average or higher intelligence do not have the capacity to be held accountable for their actions, and if you're critical of them, that they're going to go crazy and just kill everyone.
That's despicable.
That's what they're saying. But by that same token, they're saying that, right? They're saying that, but then they want more of them around. Well, again, follow the logic. You have a group of people that you personally believe cannot control themselves. That you can't say anything that might offend them or they'll go psycho and kill everyone. Yet you think we need more of them. Again, where's the logic here? Where is the actual logic? There's no logic at play here. This is insane. You know what I think it really comes down to? Do you know why I think the left like this group? It's the enemy of my enemy. That's all it comes down to. That is the sole reason that they like them. Because who is it that the far left dislike? They don't like Christians. They don't like white Christians for the most part. That's who the left think are the biggest problem. So when you have a group that has a historic conflict for centuries, I mean, that have led to multiple wars, have a historic conflict with a group they dislike, that must be their friend. So therefore they need to uplift that group. That's basically what the left is doing with that. That's their logic. The enemy of my enemy must be my friend. But the enemy of my enemy is so volatile that don't you dare offend them, because they'll kill us all. And that they want to use that enemy to bring down their enemy, the one that they really dislike, the one that they see as the biggest problem. And it doesn't occur to them that this tactic might blow up in their face at some point. I don't know. When you really think it through, though, when you really think through their argument, that it's because it can't be just discrimination, because black people aren't prone to this problem. In North America, they don't have this problem. They've been mind-bogglingly discriminated against historically, yet you don't see this behavior. At least that I'm aware of. So their logic doesn't apply to any other group. But that's the whole thing. It's almost like they want to be thought police and hold people hostage because of their perceived fear. It's their fear. It's their fear that it's words and criticism that cause violence in this group. That anyone being critical, that's the sole cause. Instead of saying, well, maybe we need to figure out what's going on in this situation and see if we can remove this violence, we can remove this radical element. They want to hold everyone else hostage and tell them that they can't express themselves, because if they express their opinion, and their opinion might actually be based upon a religious belief. Let's be frank here. People who have a religious belief, oftentimes their religion is part of the foundation for why they might not like another religion. That's pretty common. That's pretty common within the same religion. Baptists and Catholics sometimes might not like each other because of a difference of beliefs. Mormons and Baptists, Pentecostal and Baptist, Pentecostal and Lutheran. Different types of people within the same religion might dislike sometimes people they see as basically apostates or a splinter sect of their faith, and they might dislike them purely for that. So it's essentially saying even people's right to express their own religious beliefs need to be held hostage because of a perceived fear. And again, when you follow through the logic, the actual chain of logic that they follow is quite insane. It's absolutely insane when you really think about it. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.